Robert Mapplethorpe is an American born in New York on November 4th, 1946, and died on March 9th, 1989, of complications from AIDS. This picture, Cal Lily 1986, was taken the same year he was diagnosed with the HIV/AIDS virus. It is the only imperfect picture of a flower, and he was a gay man living the S&M lifestyle. And Calla Lily 1986 was taken with his Hasselblad medium format camera that he used until his dying days with the help of his brother. I believe this was taken in New York City, where he lived and enjoyed the emerging S&M life scene. The photo is a 36.5 by 36.5 silver gelatin print. In an interview with Janet Carden in 1987, Robert Mapplethorpe explained that photography in the 1970s was the perfect medium for a fast-paced life. He did not choose to become a photographer. In a way, photography chose him. Later in the same interview, he states, "If I had been born 100 years ago, I would have been a sculptor. But photography is a quick way to see, to make a sculpture." Like Man Ray, Mapplethorpe wanted to be a creator of images. Mapplethorpe felt that photography and sexuality had a lot in common. He spent the 1970s and early 1980s photographing the S&M gay scene of New York, often being one with the subjects he was photographing. In the early 1980s, he refined his style, looking for the elegance of the timeless classics, but after his years of nudes, his floral arrangements prompted sexual interpretations. Mapplethorpe's flowers are known for their perfection. He would spend hours looking for the right flower with no defects to photograph. But Calla Lily 1986, his only flower with defects, was taken shortly after his AIDS diagnosis. The color on this photograph, the color. This photograph is a high contrast photograph. It's mostly black and white with just a little bit of gray in the lower portion of the photograph. It's dark and dramatic, especially along the middle of the stem down to the tip of the flower, right down here. The focus, the entire photograph right in here is all in focus. The flower is completely in focus. With each photograph right in here, you can see all the veins are completely in focus as they travel up towards the stem. The tip of the lily, where it swirls up right in here, down to each spot, is perfectly in focus with all the minute details. However, the stem up here is out of focus. I believe this is due to a shallower depth of field, possibly a smaller aperture setting. The lighting appears to be coming in, probably up from here, in this area, or coming down at an angle right here. You can see shadows right here, and shadows right here, and a little bit of a shadow right here, and a little bit of maybe a shadow right there. The stamen also appears to be a bit blown out, so for some reason the light seems to be a bit harsher right in this area right here. The framing, the flower, the way that the flower stem is cut off makes me, right in here, makes me feel that this picture was actively framed. And the timing is a still time, nothing's moving in the photograph, nothing will move in a minute or the next 5 minutes, therefore it's a still time photo. My interpretation of the picture is based on my research. Mapplethorpe searched high and low for the very best photos, or very best flowers. He wanted flowers that were blemish-free and looked absolutely beautiful. Calla Lily 1986, however, was the one and only flower picture that he took that had blemishes on it, and from my research, this was taken shortly after his diagnosis with the AIDS virus. Mapplethorpe stated beauty and the devil are the same thing. In this picture, I feel that this torment that he had with having lived life to the fullest, only to be thrown the biggest curveball there is, death. I feel he was saying, what I feel is beautiful has caused the devil to come for me. Is that what Mapplethorpe meant when he made this statement? We'll never know, but it was made after his diagnosis with the AIDS virus. Mapplethorpe also stated, my approach to photographing a flower is not so much different than photographing a cock. This can be seen in many of his other lily images in the placement of the flowers and the way they are shot. In this photograph, Calla Lily 1986, the stamen is brightly lit, almost blown out, while other areas around it are dying. It gives me the feeling that Mapplethorpe is saying that his male appendage has done this to him. It is slowly killing him, and that his brightest light comes from his maleness, his pride and joy as a sexual being. Once that death reaches the stamen, he will also die. The photograph is about beauty and fragility of life, and I believe that it was Mapplethorpe's way of accepting what has been dealt to him so that he can move on and not just wither away. My evaluation. Had Mapplethorpe used any other flower for this photograph, it would not have worked. He used many lilies in his floral work, and therefore he needed to continue with the same lily theme in order to help get his point across while keeping in the same theme. Because of the fact that calla lily deals with the emotional impact of the HIV/AIDS virus that Mapplethorpe went through, he needed to have the flower arranged in a way that showed or gave me, the viewer, a feeling of male nudity, which it does, especially since Mapplethorpe was known for using this flower in arrangements that appeared as though they were the male appendage. The way that the stamen is blown out, it draws my eyes into that specific spot, and then the darkness that surrounds the stamen makes my eyes travel down around the lily flower. This pulls me into the picture, making me feel the flower and not just look at the flower. The extreme sharpness of the lily, seeing the veins, giving me the feeling of a person's veins, and draws me into it further. If the lighting were different, I don't think this would have worked nearly as well. I feel as though the petals are like a person's skin. Their skin is slowly dying, which is what I feel that Mapplethorpe is trying to say in this picture, that his body is slowly dying. Mapplethorpe stated, "This AIDS thing is pretty scary stuff. I hope I don't get it." I feel that this photograph shows how he came to terms with his fears of getting that scary stuff and how he was going to move beyond that. Robert Mapplethorpe lived for 3 years after he was diagnosed with the AIDS virus, and he continued to take self-portraits with the help of his brother, Edward Maxey, as he stated in his last interview in Vogue.